All right, guys, what is up? See, we already have a lot of people here hanging out. Appreciate you taking some time to hang out with me here, and I guess check out the DualSense controller here. Geoff Keighley is gonna give his hands-on impressions. Let me make sure that's on. But yeah, what's going on, guys? It says here that this is supposed to go live at 11:30. I thought I heard 12, so I don't know if he's doing like a pre-show thing or if he's just gonna have like music. But yeah, I see everybody's okay. But yeah, I guess before it gets started, we should just talk a little bit about our expectation with this. For me, um, I'm not expecting it to be anything huge, like it's very clear cut what this is. This is going to be Geoff Keighley. I'm assuming mostly just explaining what it was like to play a game with the DualSense controller. He may even end up doing it live. I'm thinking that's probably what we're going to see. I think the big question that people have, and honestly I have as well, is what game is he going to be playing? Because he's obviously going to be playing on the PlayStation 5. Honestly, he's probably going to be playing ASTRO, as unexciting as that sounds. Although maybe it's cool because the ASTRO game that Sony's going to be releasing, or actually not releasing, it's going to be built into the PlayStation 5. It's going to release alongside the PS5. Everybody who buys one will get it. It's actually designed to show off the features of the DualSense controller. So yeah, I think that that's basically what we're going to see here. I don't really know how long it's going to be. I don't know if there's going to be anything else that's like significant. I'm assuming probably not. Like anybody who's maybe watching this event or tuning into it thinking you're going to get like a PlayStation 5 price reveal or something like that, I wouldn't expect that. Anybody who's maybe anticipating getting a look at some PlayStation exclusive game or something like that other than Astrobot. I mean, look, I would be genuinely surprised if we saw anything other than Astrobot, but I just don't think that Sony is going to use this as a way to show off any meaningful or significant PlayStation 5 gameplay. If they were, they would obviously let us know to build more hype. But what's interesting to me is I'm looking at Geoff Keighley's stream right now, and there's over 20,000 people waiting, and we actually have over 1,100 people here watching, which is awesome. Thank you guys so much for taking some time to hang out with me. If you could do me a big favor, hit that like button to help the stream out and show your support here on the channel. But what's interesting to me is the timing of this, because it's like Sony, I don't know, man. Sony just has this way of doing things where I don't know if they're aware of this. I can only assume they are, where they're going to do something pretty small, pretty minute, I guess you could say, and they just get this massive response. I mean, when you look at what they did with the box art, it was literally just a tweet and an image and just saying, here you go, here's what to expect. And the tweet just blew up, and it just goes to show just the sheer hype and excitement surrounding specifically the PlayStation 5. I mean, there's definitely a lot of excitement for Xbox. I'd actually say right now there's more excitement for Xbox than there honestly has been in years, and that's great. But there's no doubt that the hype surrounding the PlayStation 5 is very, very significant. And so I went live at 11:30. I was planning on going live at 11:45, at least, Eastern time here, because as you can see on screen, it says that it was supposed to go live at 11:30 on his end, and so far it has not. So yeah, I guess we'll just patiently wait here until it does. Once again, I have no idea how long it's going to be, and I want to make sure everybody's expectations are in check right now. because this is not something massive. I mean, there could be some type of surprise. I would not anticipate that. Once again, this is just going to be Geoff Keighley basically showing us potentially him playing with the DualSense controller, probably playing Astrobot, and letting us know what he thinks of it. So, yeah, just got to keep your expectations in check. I'm only emphasizing that so much because, you know, a lot of people I think are going to tune into this. As you can see, once again, there's 20,000 people waiting, and we have a decent amount of people here. So I think most people are aware of that. The DualSense controller to me is pretty awesome, and frankly, I don't think I've talked about it enough on the channel. I say that because I've just been kind of treating it like it's just another controller, like it's no big deal. But, you know, what we know about it, it's very clear that Sony attempted to innovate in a pretty significant way with it. And I think the big question that pretty much everybody is left with is, are these innovations, such as the haptic feedback and the stuff like that they're implementing, is it going to just be a gimmick? Is it going to be something that they hype up, they talk about, and maybe like developers within the first year of the PlayStation 5 being out, they use it, and then they're just like, you know, we're not using it anymore? I hope that's not the case, because I've been covering on the channel a little bit, you know, over time, and I actually talked about it in yesterday's video. There seems to be a lot of developers who really enjoy what the DualSense is capable of, and they're actually excited to try to implement it. But thank you so much for that donation, Glenn. I really appreciate that. Appreciate that support. Thank you, buddy. But, you know, that's the big thing that I'm interested in. Another thing is the feel of the controller, obviously. I mean, you look at the DualSense, it looks dramatically different than anything Sony has ever put out controller-wise. And I know that there's been a lot of talk that, oh, it looks like the Xbox controller, or they're copying the form factor of the Xbox controller. Look, I'm going to be real with you guys right now. If you look at this controller, you look at the image of Geoff Keighley holding this controller in his hand, there's no denying that it definitely takes some cues from, you know, the overall design philosophy of the Xbox controller when it comes to the thickness of it. But I think that's a good thing, because if there's one thing that I can certainly give Xbox a lot of credit for, is that they've always done a great job with the controllers ever since the 360. In my opinion, the 360 controller, the Xbox One controller, the Elite controller. I think this is an area where Microsoft has done a just really great job. And I don't think there's anything wrong with Sony deciding maybe we should make our controller a little bit thicker. And I know some people are not going to like that, but for me personally, I do like it. So, yeah, I mean, also, Ghost of Tsushima Day. In the chat, let me know, are you playing Ghost of Tsushima? Did you buy Ghost of Tsushima? And if you are playing it, how are you enjoying it? I myself, I have it installed and ready to go. I have not played it yet. I was thinking about staying up late last night and playing it, but I got too tired. And I just wanted to make sure that when I decide to sit down and play it for the first time, I'm going to be, you know, ready to go. But I'll probably be playing that for most of today. Not most of today, but a good chunk of today, because I do have some other stuff to take care of. But yeah, definitely taking some time to play it. Can't really keep up with the chat. I see a lot of people saying they are playing it. You're loving it. Yeah, one thing I'm really interested in is to see, I want to see how well Ghost of Tsushima is going to sell, because we know how well The Last of Us Part 2 sold. And Ghost of Tsushima, it's a new IP, and it's selling to a really, really huge install base. If I'm not mistaken, Horizon Zero Dawn is currently the PlayStation exclusive that, a new IP anyway, a new IP that's a PlayStation exclusive that is currently the best selling of the generation. So it'll be interesting to see if Ghost of Tsushima can beat out Horizon Zero Dawn and get that #1 place. So, yeah. Well, yeah, I was expecting this to go live at this point, but I guess we'll just continue to hang out and chill for a little bit. Thank you guys for being here. We have over 2,000 people watching, which is incredible. Thank you guys so much. Make sure you hit that like button, guys, to help the stream out. Donovan, #MBG Bug Snacks. Yeah, you know, I've seen some people get genuinely upset at the way I've kind of poked fun at Bug Snacks, but I want to set the record straight right now with over 2,000 people here listening. I don't have a problem with Bug Snacks. I mean, look, when I watched the trailer live and also that other game, uh, I forget what the other game was, but it's with the dinosaurs in high school. It was really bizarre. I mean, those trailers were a little bit off-putting because it's just not something I would expect to see during a PS5 reveal. But I don't have a problem with Bug Snacks. I think it is turning into a meme if it's not already, and I think that's fine. I think that only helps the game out. But it looks like, it just looks like a game, right? Like it just looks kind of silly in a way. But I think that's okay. Fried Potato, you're saying hi, liked your videos. Sorry for the small donation. Don't be sorry, buddy. Don't be sorry. I appreciate any support you guys show, whether that comes in the form of just being here, leaving a like. Obviously, I do especially appreciate those who do donate anything at all. But thank you so much, buddy. You don't have to be sorry for that. I appreciate your support. But I guess right now I will just plug this here. We have Azzy BK. Xbox has a fantastic deal, xCloud and Game Pass. Yeah, that is true. That is something. See, I put out an Xbox video yesterday, and I'm not going to lie. I understand I was very pessimistic in it. I was very negative. I think I just woke up on the wrong side of the bed yesterday, and I don't know. I was just looking to maybe be a little bit more down. And I think a lot of people got upset with me because they're like, dude, like, come on. Like, this is Xbox's time to shine, and Phil Spencer's doing the rounds and talking, and just let them have their moment. And so I'm like, okay, I get it. Maybe I was a little bit too hard. Maybe it was unnecessary. But hey, I was just being honest. And, that is a good point you bring up, buddy, where it is a pretty enticing deal that Microsoft is putting together here with Game Pass and xCloud together. Very, very smart. I think that that's going to help them a lot. That's obviously going to immediately make xCloud very relevant. And I think it's a really smart thing of Microsoft to do. And what I'm most interested in seeing as we go forward is if Sony is going to maybe pay attention to the potential success that may offer the Xbox ecosystem. And I'm going to see if maybe Sony decides to possibly do something similar with PlayStation Now in the future. Obviously, they're going to have to upgrade their servers. And I think they have been in the process of doing that. I mean, we've been hearing that apparently Sony is going to have some kind of big push for PlayStation Now going into next generation. But yet we have yet to hear anything about it, probably because it's too early. I assume if we're going to hear more about PlayStation Now, it will come later on, which makes sense. So it's going to be interesting to see how significant of a push it's really going to be. Something tells me it will be somewhat significant. I don't think it's going to be as significant as what you're going to see with Microsoft with Game Pass and their services. But there's no doubt that Sony is paying attention to what Microsoft is doing in the service area because it's been proven to be very lucrative. And obviously Sony is a business. They want to make money. So can't blame them for wanting to, get a piece of that pie, maybe even a significant piece. And it's interesting because I see people sometimes talk about Xbox Game Pass and how they're like, oh, it just stomps PlayStation Now. And that's an area where Microsoft is king and they're number one. And you're not wrong. They are. But I think people kind of forget when they say that in the same breath that if Sony were to do with PlayStation Now exactly what Microsoft is doing with Game Pass, I think it would probably end up surpassing, frankly, what Game Pass has done. That's not a knock on gameplay, but I notice my chat is just kind of ridiculous right now with spam. So any of my mods here, if you could help out and try to prevent people from spamming if you can. I'm just gonna, sit here patiently and wait with you guys because I thought that, I mean, it makes sense that there isn't some kind of pre-show. Having a pre-show for a hands-on, controller thing would be a little weird. I guess I am the pre-show at this point, right? So Again, thank you guys for being here. But yeah, talking about Ghost of Tsushima again for just a minute. I'm excited to play it, man. I was contemplating whether or not I wanted to stream myself playing it. Um, the low end of your mic is booming. Yeah, I do apologize for that. I forgot. Let me fix that. That was something I meant to do, and I didn't. Hopefully, if I put it down 169, hopefully that helps, because I usually do that every time I go live or record, but I forgot to do it this time. So I apologize if I was basically making anybody's soundbar explode. Oh, here we go.
GameFly gives you access to thousands of games and movies. It's just 54 cents a day for a month of video
So let me know how the audio is
at a
for
time.
both sides here. All right. For that little ad you guys just heard, how was the audio? Was it good? Because I'll adjust it if I need to. But okay, you guys are saying it's good. All right, well, they have a countdown now, so that's good. Full screen. I mean, I'm not going to do full screen yet, only because it's just easier for me to look at the chat right here. I mean, I could do maybe another separate scene, but I don't feel like doing that, to be completely honest. Not right now anyway. So I'll just keep the countdown screen here. Make sure 1080p 60, okay. So they're streaming at 1080p 60. Let's see here. Jeez, chat's having a hard time. We got Croit CH. Hey, do you think Microsoft want to cancel Xbox Live Gold and make multiplayer free? You can't buy 12 months anymore on Xbox. I don't know. I highly, highly, highly doubt that. I'm going to assume that's just an issue. But I would not assume that that's something Microsoft's going to do. That would, I mean, you have to just take a second to think how much money Microsoft makes from their Xbox Live subscriptions. If you just think about that, I wouldn't anticipate that. I'm not saying it's not possible. Anything's possible, of course, but I'm going to be real. I'm going to assume that's just a glitch or a problem they're having right now when it comes to 12 months, but I don't expect that to happen. I mean, they could do it. I mean, I don't know if they're that serious about Game Pass, like if Game Pass is their number one thing going forward, they could potentially do that as a way to entice people even further, knowing that the multiplayer for their multiplayer games in Game Pass would be free. That's a possibility, but again, the amount of money they would lose and the amount of people that would unsubscribe at that point would be ridiculous, and I don't think that would ever happen, honestly. But that'd be great. I would love that. I do think that multiplayer being locked behind a paywall is kind of ridiculous for both Sony and Microsoft, but that's just the way it is, and we can't really do anything about it except, let them know that we don't like that. So, yeah. But, guys, in the chat, let me know what you're thinking we're going to see here. What are your expectations for this little DualSense controller hands-on reveal? What are you anticipating? I mean, what's interesting to me is it seems like there's definitely something behind this. Like, this isn't just like a random, like, here's a Twitter post of a short 30-second or minute-long clip of hands-on with the DualSense. Like, they're doing a little event here, like a micro event, I guess, if you want to call it that. I don't like to use the word event for something like this because it sounds too big, but like, a little showcase, I guess you could say. So what exactly are you guys anticipating? You know what, actually, I may, I'm going to turn on slow mode for the chat because it's like slowing down my computer. It's like literally slowing down my computer here. So Let's go back over here. And because I would like to try to read a little bit of the chat, but it's kind of impossible. Did slow mode even go through here? Because it doesn't look like it did it? Usually it tells me when it does, but whatever. There we go. Okay, it was just a little bit laggy. All right, so that should help things a little bit. So for anybody who's just joining in again, I'll just give you a little rundown of my expectations for this event. I made the mistake of calling it an event. This little hands-on showcase, I'm not expecting anything big. Actually, I saw somebody mention the create button. That's actually a really interesting thing you bring up. And I think that's a good question. Should we expect to hear anything more about the create button? We know that this is the button that is essentially replacing the share button. Or not replacing, it's innovating on the share button. And I'm really interested in the create button. What I've heard about the create button is essentially Sony is going to have like a full-blown video editor like built into the PlayStation 5 that you can access at any time just by pressing that button. You can literally like edit clips on the fly, which as a content creator, but just from, even if I wasn't a content creator, like that's really, really interesting if it's true. I see somebody saying paddles on the back being revealed. No, I would not expect that. Honestly, I'm not expecting that. This controller already looks like it's expensive as it is, but I wouldn't, no. But when it comes to the create button, I don't think they're going to focus too much on it. They might though, because you would think like, well, it's one of the most important buttons on the controller. So if they're doing a showcase for the controller or hands-on, would they really not talk about it? I think they might talk about it, but they might not show it. That's my expectation. Like they might be like, oh, and here's the create button, and this is what it does. And maybe they'll like tease out like what we can expect it to do, but they'll be like, but we'll show you more in depth at a later date. And I think that will kind of go hand in hand with them showing off the UI. I think a lot of people are saying, or they're asking in the chat right now, like, do I think we'll see the UI? I want to say no. Again, I'm only doing this just to keep everybody's expectations in check. I'm going to say no because it doesn't feel like the right time for them to do that. I think they might try to have a bigger moment for that potentially. However, they could very well tease the UI briefly, just like they did during the PlayStation 5 reveal event in June. They showed like a little 15-second teaser of what the PlayStation 5 UI looks like when you first boot up your PlayStation 5. But there's maybe a decent chance we could actually see it in action. Again, I think it will be in the form of like a tease, but maybe not. Maybe they'll go in depth and explain it. I'm not anticipating that though. But that's the whole thing I'm trying to let you guys know right now is don't expect anything insanely huge or massive. And I'm only saying that because I already know what people are going to be like. If there's no new games revealed, if there's no price or a release date, they're going to walk away and be like, oh, that sucked. This was the worst. This was such a waste of time. I think Sony and Geoff Keighley have made it very clear what to expect here. This is a DualSense controller hands-on impressions video. And it very well could just be Geoff Keighley sitting there for 30 minutes talking about his experience with the DualSense while holding it in his hands. I mean, hopefully it's a little bit more than that, but that could very well be what this is. But we have about 6.5 minutes left, so I do appreciate you guys being here. Once again, I'll ask you to leave a like. I'll try to remain relatively quiet, while this is happening. I don't know how long it's going to be. I'm anticipating maybe like 20 to 30 minutes. Beastly, you're saying you think they will announce pre-orders and love your channel, by the way. I look up to you. You keep it up. Well, thank you so much for that, buddy. I really do appreciate it. I don't think they will announce pre-orders today. The reason why I say that is because I think Sony, they're going to want to make a bigger deal of it. They could. I mean, Jim Ryan did go on record saying that they would be willing to open up pre-orders even without giving a price. So that is very interesting. We do need to be aware of that. So there is a chance they could do that. Is this the time for them to do it, though? I don't necessarily think so. I think, again, you have to keep your expectations kind of on the lower side because Sony has proven that they don't need to show a whole lot to get people talking. But in my opinion, the DualSense controller by itself alone is enough to, pique my interest to where I'm going to want to watch this. I want to see what Geoff Keighley or hear what Geoff Keighley has to say and maybe see what it's going to be like to watch him using the controller. Because again, the DualSense controller is it's a pretty far cry from any other PlayStation controller we've seen in the past. So yeah, I wouldn't necessarily expect pre-orders to go live. I just don't think that this is the right time for them to do that. But again, they could. I see people mentioning like, oh, MBG, what about your Ghost of Tsushima stream? Again, like I don't know if I'm gonna stream it. I want to play it, obviously. Eddie, who you're saying these live streams you always do are always so much fun. I can't wait to see the DualSense and whatever surprises they have for us. Yeah, I really love doing the streams as well. It's a great time. I try not to just live stream everything because I feel like it can get like a little bit too much. I only try to live stream the things that I think are going to be somewhat significant. Obviously, the PS5 reveal stream was awesome. That was a really great time. I had a lot of fun. That was like a 4-hour stream, and we have the Xbox event. And I guess I will let you guys know, the 2,200 people that are here watching, I will let you know that I do plan to live stream the Xbox event next Thursday, and I will most likely go live pretty early. Like I'll go live probably a good hour before the event so we can chat, talk about our expectations, just because I feel like that's a fun thing to do. And then we'll watch the event and then we'll talk a little bit afterwards as well. We'll handle it the same way we handled the PlayStation event, although I do not expect it to be as long because I don't know, man. I streamed for 4 hours that day and I see some people who stream for 6, 7, 8, 9 hours. And I'm just like, I don't know how they do it, man. I really don't. I love streaming, but I don't think I could do it for any longer than 3.5 hours. That's just pushing it for me. But yeah, when it comes to me streaming Ghost of Tsushima, I don't know, guys. It's tough because I just kind of want to play it on my own and enjoy it because, frankly, it's difficult to enjoy a game the first time around. Like, I don't know, maybe it's just me. I have a difficult time really getting fully immersed in a game when I'm streaming it in front of a live audience. So I'm thinking I might play it and then stream it later on, possibly, but we'll see. BGBQ8, thank you for becoming a member, buddy. I really do appreciate you deciding to go above and beyond here and support me directly. Look forward to your exclusive perks and the exclusive content. We do have the MBG and Friend Game Club going out a little bit later this month where we're going to talk about our thoughts and impressions on Ghost of Tsushima and what we played of it. So look forward to that. Thank you, buddy. Extreme 2 Swagger HD. Thank you for that. And we have Jacob. Oh, that disappeared. Let me bring it up here. I can't stay for the live stream, but I'm hoping for an amazing DualSense reveal. Yeah, I'm hoping so too, man. It's no big deal that you can't stay for the stream. Obviously, you'll be able to watch it after the fact, or I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of articles written up on it. So we have about 2 minutes left here. I'm going to be obviously hiding the chat and going full screen. Actually, I'll do that right now. Hopefully the audio levels are okay. I can only hope they are. I might want to double check here, actually, just to make sure before it starts, because I don't want it. Okay, yeah, they look pretty good. So we should be good to go. About 1.5 minutes left. So, yeah. One last time, I apologize for sounding like a broken record. Make sure you hit that like button, guys. I only ask so much because it really helps out the stream. Likes are very important on YouTube. I know most of you understand that, so help the stream out. Hit that like button. Let's see if we can get to 1,000 likes. That would be absolutely fantastic. So, yeah, I see somebody saying the combat in Ghost of Tsushima is great. That's what I've been hearing. And frankly, that's one of the reasons I'm most excited to play it now more than ever, because that seems to be the main talking point. And for a game that has so much combat in it, that's what gets me excited. So, really looking forward to playing it. But, all right, we got less than 1 minute left. Let's see what it's going to be like. I'm hoping for... I don't know what I'm hoping for. Frankly, I don't really have any expectations. I'm just interested to hear what Geoff Keighley has to say about his time with the DualSense. But, all right, 30 seconds left. Let's do this. Forgot my coffee. All right, guys, hit that like button if you're excited to see the DualSense controller. Hopefully the stream doesn't crash as soon as it starts. Couple seconds now. All right, let's check it out.
This right here is the PlayStation 5 DualSense. Yes, it's powered up because we are going to go hands-on with the PlayStation 5. Hey guys, it's Geoff Keighley, and this is a special Summer Game Fest stream. Really a special year for all of us that new consoles are coming out, and a lot of people have wondered what PlayStation 5 is going to play like. A big part of that is the controller and the experience of playing games, especially because this controller is a little different than the traditional DualShock. And I've got that here, my PS4 Pro DualShock. This is a form factor that really has been around since the original PlayStation, in various different forms. There weren't analog sticks back then. But the DualSense introduces a couple new innovations. And having played it here for a couple of hours, I'll kind of summarize those for you before we get into some gameplay. The big things that I've noticed are the adaptive triggers, the L2,
There's the
R2.
back.
So outside of the game
No
environment, you just kind of pull these down like any controller. But when you're in a game, there's actually the possibility to create tension points or haptics inside of these adaptive triggers. So imagine pulling this down and feeling the pressure from a bow in a bow and arrow, or even in an action game, pulling this down and feeling active reload points, where designers can actually create tension points as you pull this down at certain percentages, and give the player feedback. So I think that's a unique sensation that is going to have a pretty big impact, I think, longer term on gameplay. The other thing inside of this controller are the haptics. So PlayStation had Rumble for quite some time, but the haptics add another layer to the experience. It's not just sort of one rumble point. So it's not just kind of on or off. There's the ability to create other sensations. As you'll see in this demo I'm going to show you of Astrobot's Playroom, you'll see what ice feels like,
I knew it
what
was
sand
Astrobot
feels like, and different surfaces. The other thing that I've noticed is that the speaker in the DualSense, it feels like it has much more range than the PlayStation 4 speaker, and it often directly ties into what's happening with the haptics. At least in Astro's Playroom, there's much more variety in the types of sounds coming out of the speaker. And I'm sure every game will use it differently or may not use it as much. But at least in this demo, you really do sense that there's a lot going on with the haptics and there's sound that ties into it. And then when you combine that with the Tempest 3D engine in PlayStation 5 for the speakers, the sort of harmony between the controller sound and what's happening in the PlayStation 5
his audio is a little weird.
Is really,
That's not
really
on my
unique
end.
and interesting. So those are the things I noticed in it. Some people have asked also about, like, what's the weight of it? What does it feel like? Compared to the DualShock for PS4, it definitely weighs a little bit more, but doesn't feel substantially heavier. And if anything, I think it actually has a little more heft to it, in a good way, that it feels more structured, and there's more sort of inside of it. So centered, but definitely
looks like it feels
good
premium.
to me. So let's talk about what we're going to play today. What we're going to check out is Astro's Playroom, and that is
our
the
first
game that
PS5
comes
gameplay,
packed
guys.
with the
Hit
PlayStation
that like button.
5. It is pre-installed on the system. You don't even have to download it. And it's not just like a tutorial demo of 15 minutes. It's a multi-hour game. We're
Really?
going to get to play one section of it today.
Multi-hour game.
I
Wasn't
think the reason
expecting
we're
that.
playing this is because it comes with the system and it really showcases the controller. So, of course, everyone wants to see what Horizon Forbidden West looks like on the system. And
Yep.
this is a demo that is focused, I think, more on the controller and the haptics and the adaptive triggers versus trying to showcase the power of the SSD or, the true graphics horsepower of PS5. So that's all stuff we can look forward to. We've seen those games, at the event, and they look spectacular. So that's another aspect of PS5 that I'm sure hopefully we'll get to see more of in the coming weeks. But at least right now, we're going to look at the controller and how that relates to gameplay with Astro's Playroom. So let's call it up here and go hands-on live with PS5. So you can even hear the sound of my bot walking around.
All right, let's do it.
So full 6 degrees of motion as always. Looks like I'm going to have to flick up here on the pad to release my bot. And we are in CPU Plaza. The thing about this game, as you will see in this demo, there are a lot of references to the history of PlayStation. So Cooling Springs is the area that is open on Geoff's demo of this game.
Are they teasing backwards compatibility?
We are going to jump in
Probably
here
not.
and just go through this experience with the bot. All right, so we're on the beach here. There are beach balls you can play around with. There are some bots enjoying life, sunning themselves. Bot on vacation here. Should I disrupt them?
I feel like the camera should be on Jeff's hands.
How rude of me,
as weird
right?
as that sounds, so we can actually see
head on
him
over here
like holding the controller,
into
though.
this, sandstorm
I'm gonna be honest right
created
now.
by, I guess, these CPU fans. And again, when you get into this environment, I'm static here, but you hear the crisp sounds of sand coming at you. There's a tension in the controller from going over this sand environment, and then you push further in. Here we are. And look, the rubber ducks are back. Remember the duck demos? PlayStation 3, I think that was.
I don't.
Rubber ducks.
I don't remember that.
All right, so I have this suit, and I'm going to push up on the controller to zip him up. This is the frog suit, and this frog suit shows off the adaptive controllers. So I'm going to move my controller left and right, and these adaptive triggers are really, really cool, and I've never felt something like this before in
I'm really interested to try them and see what they feel like.
As you push down on the controller, there's tension now in these adaptive triggers, and it's programmable. One thing that I think is really fun about this demo is it makes you think of how these technologies are going to be used in other games. So you think of Ratchet and Clank. I mean, obviously a lot of this gameplay similar in style to a Ratchet game. So you think of all those crazy graphics that we saw on the stream, but with this type of control and this kind of fun. So now we've made it to the frozen pool area of Cooling Springs. And here, we're going to pull down on this. And again, you see this ice, but you hear a storm literally inside of the DualSense, and sort of a small little rumble from the haptics. Little ice shards here. As you go past every ice shard, you hear the little tink of the ice shard. I wonder if I put this up to the mic, this is not ASMR, this is PSMR.
PSMR.
Do you guys hear that? His little footsteps?
That sounds weird.
All this is coming out of the controller. Got a checkpoint here. Now this one, you actually have to blow into the controller. Again, this one, you pull back, just like a bow and arrow almost. And look, I unlocked a PlayStation 3. I have a PlayStation 5.
Dude, I swear,
I had a lot of
they
fun
better not be
playing
teasing
with
backwards
DualSense
compatibility.
controller and AstroBot. And I wanted to get a little more information on all things PlayStation. So joining me now is the worldwide head of marketing at PlayStation, Eric Lempel. Eric, how we doing?
All right, Eric.
Hi, Jeff. How are you?
Hear what you have to say.
I'm doing pretty good. I got to go hands on with PS5, which was a nice surprise this week. I was not expecting it, but you guys are full of surprises for PS5. It looks like.
Yeah, and you're one of the first to actually touch the DualSense outside of the company and the developers. I'd love to know what you think. This is a big thing for us.
Yeah, no. Again, I'm used to going to a big event and playing with everyone, but the fact that I got it here and got to play it was really special. And I have to say, after watching the event and seeing the games, I was excited. But the gameplay feels like a whole other dimension to the experience with what's happening with the adaptive triggers and the haptics and everything. So it was one of those things that I was playing AstroBot, but imagining all the other games, how that's going to impact the experience. And one thing I'd heard is that demo or version of it, you guys actually shared with developers initially?
That's true. So what you played is a part of a title called Astro's Playroom. It was in our show a few weeks ago, and it's installed on every PlayStation 5. So everyone who buys a PlayStation 5 will get this game, and it really shows off a lot of the features of the platform, but really does a great job of showing all the benefits of the DualSense controller. So what we did is early on, we had another version of the title that we took around to the developers that were engaged in PlayStation 5 development and showed them what was possible with a title. And it's been a great example, and it's really opened up people's minds to how they can use this new device and really the new features of the controller. But I would say when people get their PlayStation 5, that should probably be one of the first things they do is just jump in there and experience this, because as you've seen, it's pretty special.
No, we've been using the same a similar kind of form factor of DualShock for many, many generations. And obviously, adding analog sticks and rumble and things like that, and the touchpad. But this feels like it's a bit of a redesign, but I really like how it feels in my hands. And I imagine for PlayStation, when you were conceiving a PS5 and Mark Cerny was architecting it, I imagine the controller and a lot of those innovations were kind of right there at the beginning as something that you wanted to put into the system.
It's true. As we've said many times with PlayStation 5, it's a brand new generation, and we believe in generations. So we want to evolve every part of the experience. And the controller is really the most intimate part of the experience. It's the extension of the player. So, we thought a lot about this. And one of the things we could have done is just iterate on the DualShock. We've done that for many years. The gamers absolutely love the DualShock. They tell us it's the best controller we've ever made, the latest edition. But we thought, no, let's go a step further. Let's see how a new generation can express a whole new feeling. And that's where the DualSense came about. So early on, it was part of the plan to evolve the experience. And, there are many parts of that experience, but this is a really unique part that truly takes a step forward in gaming.
You mentioned you believe in generations. I guess it's a bit of a controversial opinion to some people about this idea that, generations are going to sort of break with the past, right?
Eric's about to go in hard, yo.
I wanted you to maybe talk a bit about that, because it does seem like that's like a cardinal sort of virtue of the PlayStation promise, is that there is this sort of, break from the past, a new generation with a new console, games optimized for that system, versus kind of working across, multiple devices and multiple generations. Can you maybe give us a little bit more perspective on the controller being a part of that, but that view, which is obviously counter, we've seen Xbox saying something different around that. Why is that so important to PlayStation as a principle of the sort of the architecture of PlayStation 5?
Well, specifically for us, a big pillar of our company is innovation. It's a pillar of Sony Corporation. It's also a pillar of the PlayStation company. And, we are always trying to push the boundaries. We push the boundaries of play. That's what we say internally. We want to excite gamers. We want to deliver new experiences. So as we go into a new piece of hardware, it really has to check the box on a lot of different areas to fulfill those promises. And we a lot of developers about this. We've gone out there, we've talked to people about what they want in a next generation console. And really to do that, you've got to deliver a lot. And I think what's really unique about the DualSense is that it plays into another one of your senses. But we're covering a lot of the senses with PlayStation 5. I mean, first and foremost, I'd say in gaming, for the history of gaming, the first sense is seeing. It's all the visuals, it's the graphics. And naturally, with every generation, the graphics improve. And with PlayStation 5, we're taking a leap forward there. And then there's sound, and we're introducing a new form of 3D audio, which will be really powerful no matter what you're playing, no matter how you're playing. And then the next piece is touch. And, touch has been around for a while. We've had force feedback. Of course, we've had different types of force feedback and rumble in the DualShock. But this takes that to a whole new level. Similar to what gamers have expected from other generational shifts, this brings it to a whole new place. I mean, it's haptic feedback. It's these adaptive dynamic triggers. I mean, something no one's ever experienced before. And it really brings you closer to the game. And, the biggest joy for us is putting this in the hands of developers, because developers want to push the technology as far as it can go to tell stories.
Tell us why
and
you
really
believe in
bring the
generations.
gamer into their worlds. And we believe, all of these things combined, as well as all the other great PS5 features we spoke about, really lead to a next generation experience. And in many cases, we can't take everybody with us from previous consoles into that experience. You need new hardware, you need new devices to experience what these developers want you to experience.
And I imagine,
Well,
PS4, there'll still be games coming out for it. I mean, it's not like the pipeline stops there, but there's this sort of new set of experiences that will be exclusive to PS5, right?
Exactly. PlayStation 4 is a big part of everything we do, and it will continue to be a big part of everything we do. There's a lot more to come on PlayStation 4. I think most recently we're seeing, some of the greatest titles this generation have released in recent weeks,
Yep.
but that will continue. And again, PlayStation 5 is the next generation product, but again, we've got a lot to come for people on PlayStation 4. Still a ton of life in that product.
When I was playing Astros, one of the things that my mind started racing with was thinking of how this is going to apply to a game like Ratchet, because sort of similar gameplay style, but with the audio, the speaker in the DualSense, and the haptics and the adaptive triggers. One feature we haven't talked much about is the SSD and that sort of input output on the device, and how that's going to allow a lot of interesting things. And when I saw the event in June, that Ratchet trailer just blew me away with like jumping between those worlds so quickly. And could you maybe talk a bit about like that feature, which I didn't really, Astro's not a game I think that really is dry, needs the SSD to function the way it is. Can you talk a bit about the SSD and how that's going to impact the experience?
Sure. And this ties back nicely to your question about generations, because when you look at a game like Ratchet, and we've talked about a lot of different features today, and as you mentioned, we haven't mentioned SSD. That is another thing that will make the whole gaming experience different. It'll make it better, but it also allows the developers to do new things. It isn't just about faster loading time. And you take a great developer like Insomniac, and they found a way to say, okay, look, here's a game that could only be made on PlayStation 5, on this generation, using this technology. A lot of what you saw in the show, jumping through those different worlds instantly, just can't be done in most cases. And it needs new hardware, it needs new power. So that's something we're looking forward to. I mean, all of these things come together. You combine that with 3D audio, with a controller, ray tracing. I mean, these are great experiences, and these developers know how to harness every piece of those features to really bring you a unique experience. And that really speaks to what next gen is for us.
So that Ratchet game, like, couldn't be done on PS4. I guess if you did it, you'd have to fundamentally change the architecture and the gameplay of it.
You would have to change it. You would have to change the way the game works. It would be a different experience. According to everything that Insomniac have told us, this hardware allows them to deliver on this vision. They could not make it. If they did, it would just be different. You would be playing a different type of game, and the experience would be different.
Yeah, no, I have to say, after playing with the controller, DualSense, and the experience, I definitely got a sense of where you're taking things moving forward. And let's talk a bit about that, because you guys had the big event, so many great titles. I think gamers are very excited about PS5. I think we saw even this week there were rumors that pre-orders were happening, and the Twitter lit up. I don't know where these rumors start, but I have to ask you, like, are you about to press the button now for pre-orders? Like, when can we expect to get our PS5?
No, definitely not now. We don't know what happened there. We had nothing to do with it. I got a message.
Appreciate you trying, Geoff.
People are lining up at stores, and we had no idea why. So I think it's safe to say, for all of your viewers, we'll let you know when pre-order will happen. We will let you know. It's not going to happen with a minute's notice. We're going to at some point let you know when you can pre-order PlayStation 5. So
give us
don't
leeway.
feel like you have to go run out and line up anywhere until you receive
that's actually good info
on how that'll work. So I don't know how that happened. Don't know who did it. Wasn't us.
I know who did it.
But look, I mean, as a marketer, I'm sure it's great to see there's that much anticipation for your product.
Oh yeah, no, look, we absolutely love all of the PlayStation fans, and we're thrilled that they're excited about this product. And again, with this product, we're trying to bring them experiences they didn't think were possible. And you're experiencing some of that. One of the first people to experience that. I'm glad you had the experience that you did, because that's what we're hoping to get out of this. And unfortunately, given the current situation in the world, we would love to be out there having gamers start to touch the product. We would have done that in normal years.
I want to
we
touch
can't do
the
that.
product.
So it's really hard. I know a lot of people watching this, and they're going to really wonder, like, what are they talking about?
They're going to be angry at me saying, why did he get one?
Exactly. Why did Geoff get to do it? But I think it's really hard to describe. I mean, you've heard us talk about this, but now you've gone through the experience, and you can see it's different.
One thing I wanted to ask you about, you and I have known each other for a long time, and I'm excited that you're in this worldwide role for PlayStation now to kind of unify, the messaging around the world. And there was a new tagline for PlayStation that showed up in the event in June, which I think was the first time people had seen it. And can you maybe tell us a bit about this new kind of tagline, which is global for PlayStation?
Certainly, and thanks for noticing that. That was actually the last bit of the show. That was the last thing you saw on the show, was this new line, which is "Play has no limits." And as you said, we've known each other a long time, and you've known how the PlayStation organization was structured. And in the past, we were really separate groups around the world that all worked together and laddered up to a parent company. And in recent years, we've started to globalize, and we've seen great benefits from that in many parts of the organization. And so another part of this was the marketing piece. And really, if you look at great brands around the world, they all feel similar, or at least to great degree similar. And a part of that is the global brand line. And these lines, if they're good, they stand the test of time, and they stick with a brand for a long time. So this was a hard job for the team. We went back and we looked at this, and we thought, what type of line would really satisfy the world and at the same time live up to our ambition as a company, as a brand? And that was Play has no limits. That's what we believe. And there's many different ways to interpret it. So I'm going to leave it to all the viewers to interpret it the way
you guys
they
like that tagline.
But for us, it is really about speaking to innovation and speaking about new experiences that you can have with PlayStation that you never expected. And really, it's how we push ourselves. We don't constrain ourselves. We want to push the limits of gaming all the time. And right up to the end of everything we do, we're constantly pushing to deliver something new, something best in class. And I'm excited about this, because I would say, Geoff, you've been around the industry for a very long time. I would challenge you to name all of the PlayStation taglines this past generation around the world. You couldn't, because there were a ton of them.
I was going to say, I know greatness awaits, but beyond that, it's like, I don't even.
So there were a lot of them, and that's why we really wanted to get this together. And of course, the line will be localized.
Was it for the players, I think, or something in the UK, maybe?
For the players, exactly. Was the line that was used across most parts of Europe.
Uh-oh.
But there were a lot
Geoff.
more than that. So we looked at this and we said, no, let's get one line that
this is all Geoff
solidifies
is going to
the
be
brand.
thinking about now.
Also, look and feel of the brand is changing slightly. You saw some of that during the event a few weeks ago, and that will also be global. So we'll be a very strong global brand.
Well, again, there's a lot of love for PlayStation and what you guys have teased us with PS5 this year. I think it's been such an interesting rollout of, you never know when something's going to pop up on Twitter, or the box art itself was sort of like trending when you put out the Miles box. So who knows what's next? I can't let you go without everyone online wants to know about, like, are we going to get other colors of controllers or consoles? I imagine for launch, it's like hard enough to get one out. But is that on the roadmap?
We'll talk about it at some point.
Right
come
now, on.
It's, as you mentioned, it's a hard enough job to get the
Well, he didn't say no.
The unit that we've showed out. So,
yes.
But we'll talk about it at some point.
All right. Well, we know there'll be two of them, the all digital one as well, coming out, and we are excited to
I feel like Jeff's
see what's
laughing
in
because he
store
knows.
for PlayStation. I'm sure there are more surprises, but
He knows.
It's an exciting year for the industry that these new consoles are coming out. I never thought there'd be a console launch in the middle of this. I would never think my first hands-on would be in my own place with a PS5 controller, but I'll take it. And they quickly took it away, so I don't have it anymore. So we'll check it out again, hopefully this holiday season. Eric Lempel, great to have you with us, and thanks for giving us a little bit of hope and excitement this year about PS5. I think it's all something we need, and we look forward to playing it later this year.
Thanks, Geoff. It was great speaking with you as always.
All right, I guess maybe that's it. Okay, yeah, so there it is. Before I go, I will actually chat with you guys for a little bit, just give my thoughts on that. I'm sure you guys want to know about that. Let me just get rid of this and bring up the chat. All right, so let's talk about what just went down there. So for me, it was exactly what I expected. I have to say, I do genuinely appreciate Geoff trying his best to get anything more out of Eric Lempel from Sony. He talked about, the generational thing, how there's been some controversy around that. And, Eric had to keep it PR, but he did say that, they are trying to achieve things that simply would not be possible on the PS4. Now, he didn't say every single game they're going with, is necessarily going to do that, but they talked about Ratchet and Clank, which I did appreciate that. When it comes to the controller itself, I think Geoff did a good job. I mean, he's doing the best he can where he's in front of a camera playing like 5 minutes of this game, trying to describe it and explain it. And, it's not the most exciting thing, but hey, he's doing the best he can. And frankly, I think he did a good job. And I think it was just a nice little thing they did here. Something else really important that I think we learned. If anything, I think this is the most important thing, considering I know a lot of you here want to, you want to know when you're going to be able to pre-order the PS5. They confirmed they're not just going to drop it at a moment's notice. They're going to prepare you. LSSJT, you say, here, get yourself something nice. Thank you, buddy. Morgan, you're saying the way he was smiling, they're definitely going to have a few different colors sooner or later. LOL. Yeah, that's something I noticed as well. Look, here's the thing that I'm unsure of. I don't know if these questions were scripted. I have to imagine to an extent they were, because Geoff's a smart guy. He knows what to ask, what not to ask, but you could tell he was also kind of prying. I'm assuming he had to run by these questions, run them by Sony's PR, and they were like, sure. And I have to imagine that the reason why they asked these 3 questions specifically, because you'll notice one of the questions that Geoff didn't ask, and I saw a lot of you guys bring it up, is 60 FPS, frame rate. Obviously, if Geoff was really trying to pry, he would have asked about that. And frankly, I would have loved to hear Sony's response about that. I have a feeling that more games, and I could be completely wrong about this, Sony's being quiet for one of 2 reasons. They're being quiet about the frame rate because they know that a lot of their games are actually either going to run at 60 FPS or they're going to have a 60 FPS mode built into them. Or they're being quiet about it for a negative reason because they know that most of their games are not going to run at 60 FPS, but we have to understand they're leaving it up to the developer. It's not a mandate. We still don't know exactly where Microsoft sits on this, but one thing we do know definitively is Sony is making it so their developers are only making games for the PS5, to where Microsoft is making it so their developers are making games for both consoles, the Xbox One and the Series X. But he didn't ask about that. He did ask about pre-orders. So, I think that this is a little bit of I don't want to say a tease, but maybe it is. I mean, we know they're going to have to announce it soon, but Sony, the most important thing they let us know in this is that they will give us a heads up. Like, they're not just going to drop it randomly saying, pre-orders are up, by the way, go get it. They're going to let us know so we can prepare for it, so retailers can prepare and whatnot. Henry, you're saying you wish they talked about the create button. Yeah, me too. I mean, I think they didn't do that, as I suspected, because it's linked directly to the UI, and they're going to have a whole thing dedicated to that. You could tell by the way Geoff Keighley was smiling and laughing a little bit that he knows what's coming, and he was basically saying there's going to be some big surprises. And I think him and the Eric Lempel guy were laughing back and forth because they both know. And I think the reason why he asked about the color scheme, look, I don't know if this is realistic to expect, but it really almost does seem like, at least for the PlayStation 5 console, I would assume if this was the case for the PlayStation 5 console, it would also be the case for the controller, is you're going to be able to actually buy different plates for it, different colors, and choose your color. Now, I could be wrong. That's just a guess, but something tells me that there's a reason why that question was asked the way it was in this stream, and why they were both kind of laughing, and why Eric Lempel didn't just give a flat out no. If you paid attention, he just kind of said, we'll talk about that later. And obviously they didn't, I find it interesting that Geoff mentions something about pre-orders, but says nothing about price. Again, this is what leads me to believe that obviously the questions were scripted because Sony doesn't want to talk about price right now at all, and they don't want people asking them about price. Steven, you're saying Xbox developers aren't being forced to support both. I'm pretty sure it's a mandate. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's a mandate that Microsoft's first-party studios, their first-party studios, have to make their games playable on the Xbox One. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure that's what Phil Spencer made clear, which is fine. It is what it is. But yeah, overall, my thoughts on this little DualSense controller reveal, I thought it was fine. I mean, I know that maybe there were some people who were disappointed thinking it wasn't that exciting. And I do agree that it felt kind of like a big tease, honestly, especially with that interview where it seemed like Geoff was starting to pry with some interesting questions, but, Eric Limpel wouldn't budge and was just maybe kind of letting us know to wait. But something tells me that Sony, I think it's kind of obvious. Look, Sony and Microsoft both have a lot left to reveal, and Sony was not going to come out here and do something extreme in front of Microsoft's event. I know that a lot of people think that, oh, that's exactly what Sony is going to do. That's what they're known to do. Not necessarily. The smarter thing for Sony, and they're aware of this, would be to wait till after Microsoft's event and then counter it with something significant. Mr. Hamster, you're saying, MBG, will you do a Ghost of Tsushima live stream? I want to see MBG get beat by some Mongolians. I'm not sure about that yet. There's a good chance that I'll probably play it a little bit myself. If I'm feeling up to streaming it at some point, it'll be within the next week, and I'll probably just randomly stream myself playing it. But I'm not sure, honestly. We'll have to wait and see. But either way, I will be playing it. I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, what did you guys think about this? I see a lot of people constantly talking about the frame rate. And guys, look, there's not really much we can do. If Sony wants to talk about it, they're going to talk about it. Honestly, here's my thoughts. And I'll talk more about this on the podcast this Sunday, which I will plug right now. The next episode of Press X Podcast will be going live this Sunday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. So if you want to talk more and hang out more, we're going to have some good topics. I hope to see you there. The truth of the matter is we just don't know what to expect when it comes to frame rate because Sony hasn't talked about it. The only thing they've really talked about is, well, they've allowed Bluepoint Games to go on record saying that there's going to be a frame rate mode and a visual mode. Now, I find that interesting because it seems like they're leaving it up to the developers of whether or not they want to talk about frame rate with these consoles, or with their games. I have a feeling, and this is just me kind of spitballing, if Microsoft puts a huge emphasis at their event on frame rate, and it seems to be a success for them, and everybody's talking about it, and there suddenly starts to be this perception that, oh, Microsoft offers 60 frames per second games at 4K, Sony doesn't, then I think you might start hearing Sony and their developers talk more about frame rate simply because it would just make sense for them to do that. You know what I mean? But we have to wait for that. When it comes to my stance on frame rate, I'm a believer in just let developers do what they want. If they want to make their game 30 frames per second, they're the developers. They know what's best for their game, not me. I'm not that entitled. I'm not entitled enough to sit here and say that I know better than the developers. I know that maybe that sounds hypocritical because it's like, oh, don't you say that when it comes to, developers scaling down games? Well, here's the truth, guys. Microsoft and their developers can do whatever they want, and I think it's fine. I think people get confused because they're getting all upset because I'm out here talking about how I don't agree with Microsoft's approach with they're going to make their games cross-gen and they're not going to have any exclusives just for the Series X. I want you guys to understand, and I guess I'm just saying this here because I've noticed it seems to get lost in translation. I'm not saying that I know what's best or that they should do exactly what I want them to. All I'm saying is that I'm not the biggest fan of that approach. That's all it comes down to. Microsoft, Phil Spencer, all of the Xbox studios, I'm a believer in do what you want, do what you think is best. I'm going to give my opinion on that, but at the end of the day, I want people to do what they think is best. I mean, I'm going to have my opinions, I may even get emotional about those opinions, you know, but at the end of the day, I'm just a firm believer in they got to do what they think is best. So it is what it is, right? But either way, getting back on topic here, I'm excited for the DualSense. Did Geoff Keighley get me even more excited? Kind of, maybe, I guess. I mean, I'm not any more or any less excited. I just think that it's a nice little thing they did. And I will be interested to see how it feels, you know, to play, I guess, Astrobot when it comes out on the PS5 and see what the controller has to offer. The thing I'm most interested in has to do with the triggers and how you can kind of feel that haptic feedback. I am genuinely interested to see what that's going to feel like in some games, because that sounds like it has the possibility to be like a really cool thing and actually kind of change how it feels to a certain extent to play some games. But that's just, yeah. So we have Morgan, you're saying, I knew it would be like this. It's hard to describe things like haptic feedback. We have to wait until we get our hands on the controller. Yeah, it's reminding me a little bit of like VR, where it's hard to fully explain. It's just one of those things where you have to experience it firsthand for yourself to get it fully. Doesn't mean you can't try to explain it. Doesn't mean it can't help to explain it. But yeah, it's just difficult to explain a feeling verbally, right? And to convey that correctly. But again, I think they did a good job. I appreciated the little interview at the end there. And, you know, I think a lot of us were hoping to see a different game maybe, or talk about the UI, or get something revealed. But I think if you watch that interview between Geoff Keighley and Eric Limpel, you'll see that there's enough there where you can tell they're hinting that some bigger things are coming very soon. So look forward to that. But yeah, guys, I think that's going to do it for my stream. I don't want to extend it too long because, again, we do have the podcast coming up on Sunday. So I hope to see you there. And I just want to thank everybody for being here, taking the time to hang out with me. Once again, we have 1,300 people here. Before you leave the stream, be sure to hit the like button to help it out. Really helps more than you know. But yeah, guys, I think that's going to do it here. So until next time, take care, guys.